All right. So, hello, everybody. Everybody, which means literally everybody here in the ether of the YouTubes and every other platform. So, my name is Jason Roof. I'm the Hellenic Roof, which means I'm from Greece, let's say. I'm a descendant of the Greeks. I want to believe at least that that I am one. I'm trying to live up to that name, but I'm failing for now. Anyways, today we have another guy which he is actually much more in line with the ancient Greek aesthetics, at least for sure. I can say that so, and he seems to aspire similar values with that I have, and I aspire to live my life with these values. So I'm very, very, very glad today to have, in my opinion, a superstar in the making and already in the space we are in, which is the enlightened fitness and I would say maybe functional and nature and everything else. So, Christian, I'm so glad you're here, man. Thank you for coming and sharing your wisdom.
Thank you for having me on, man. I'm super stoked to chop up some good stuff all about natural living at its finest.
Exactly. That's why we are here for. So, for the few people that actually don't know you, and that would be a shame. But for those people, which I know sometimes, there are some. Uh, Please, can you make a very short, like 5 minutes, max 10 introduction about, who are you, what are you doing right now? But don't get into the nitty gritty. Just
hmm
a synopsis, and then we can dive into more things.
Yeah. So I like to say I'm a biohacking hippie. And so I'm very much into the ethereal and spiritual world, but I like to be grounded in many ways with a lot of the modern science tools we have today. Super obsessed with just all things nature and natural living, but also tapping into that. The intricacies of what we have available at our fingertips today when it comes to things related to red light therapy and just random things, infrared saunas, right? So I love tapping into some of this technology and how we can optimize our health inside and out. And so this all began, when I was about 18 years old, getting out of high school. I began changing up my routines and friend groups and started really taking more time inward and taking more time studying things and delving into the field of nutrition, into fitness, into a lot of these holistic based modalities. And this was actually primarily inspired through my family. A lot of health issues in my family growing up. Personally, I was constipated for about 7 days. Think about that, not being able to poop for 7 days back in high
Wow.
school. And so that inspired me like, okay, the gut health, stress levels associated to it, all these interconnections are super important. So I don't want to go back to that situation. So I started tapping into research, attempting things outside of the norm of pharmaceuticals, right? So I was prescribed a ton of laxatives. It didn't help at all when it came to getting the bowel movements back. And so I tapped into acupuncture, I tapped into hydrotherapy, chiropractic care, all these different ancient tools at a very young age. And that opened up the gates into a lot of these things I'm obsessed about now. And on top of that, like I was saying with my family's issues, right? So my little sister Nina had a heart transplant back in March of 2014. And she has still suffered from a lot of health issues, when it comes to just gaining energy and just feeling lethargic or blood flow. And so, this culmination of health experiences and things relating to my family and my health led me into this trajectory of just studying it, obsessing about anatomy and physiology, biology, biochemistry, and all these different areas. And so this is what led me into coaching men today. So I'm a men's lifestyle coach, biohacking hippie. I love going hiking every day. I love tapping into some crazy fitness routines, exploring, traveling, all these good things, and just seeing the fruits of nature and the fruits of life. I'm constantly obsessed with curiosity. So that's a little bit about me right there.
Wow. Okay. So many things I have to ask you now. Wow. Very interesting introduction of yourself. Wow. Um, all right. So, okay, let's start with. I mean, the constipation thing was very brutal.
Mm-hmm.
And anything you say, because I've been there, by the way, I've been not 7 days, but I have been 5 days. So
Mm.
oh my God, this and insomnia might be the worst things you can have in your life. And I know for the people maybe that never experienced that thing, maybe sounds a little bit quirky and funny, but trust you me, if you've been either insomniac with 2 days never sleep or 3 days,
Mm.
little to no sleep, or constipated for 5 or more days, oh my God, you believe in Christ now. You start believing in Buddha, in Allah, and whatever deities you think everywhere. That you go, you become mental because it's literally the body is stuck, like it's so stagnant. Everything, the energy,
Hmm.
everything is so bad, and I really feel for everybody now who's going through that. If anybody's watching, like, I mean, comment down below. So yeah, I feel you guys, man. It's really a good reason to start searching, because like you say, my experience is the same. The doctors, usually doctors of medicine, personally, they never gave me something that lasts more than maybe 2 days, and their
Hmm.
solution usually was very temporary and with many side effects. So
And yeah,
that's
speaking of which, you mentioned the word stagnant, and stagnancy equates to dis-ease or lack of harmony in the body. In ancient traditional Chinese medicine, 5,000 years ago or more, Ayurveda in ancient India, all these ancient practices, they go back to stagnancy equates to disease, equates to sickness, to illness, to imbalance, right? And so that's why I'm a big fan of just constantly moving, circulating this blood flow, circulating the lymphatic system. And on top of that, constantly having variance with your nutrition and diversity with that, and just not getting stagnant or in the monotony of life, and constantly experiencing new things, because that's also good for our brain. Are you aware of Joe Dispenza's work?
yeah, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's very big on the idea of like, don't take the same route to work every single day. Don't eat the same exact foods every single day. Don't be doing the same thing, monotony, and living in that life, because that's truly the matrix, and that's where you get set in these default, mode networks in a way where it's just constantly cycling in a negative feedback loop. And so he's really big on the idea of like building neurogenesis or creating new neurons through new experiences, novel experiences, through new movements. And I strongly believe in that too. And it's changed my life in many ways. And so that's one of my big inspirations. But I just had to point that out, the stagnancy thing.
Right on point, man. So that's one reason I brought you here. At least I invited you, and you're very gracious to come over and share your wisdom. Was that I found you through the Instagrams. Actually, one of my best friends who is native here, he actually talked about you, and I didn't know you. So I just researched a little bit about you, and I really was, you know, my first impression was it's always usually the best and the correct impression. You are in the woods, usually, sometimes, many times you seem in the woods. That's what you present. You are without your shirt, which for me is more like bromance, 1,000%. I'm literally doing that like for years now, and I'm looking like a lunatic in Athens. I did it in Athens for many years, but you do things in line with our biology. That's what I'm seeing. I saw a guy who is fit, more fit than I, with humble pie, but time for the humble pie. But you are fit. You are like a human. You are like going to the ideal, presenting the ideal form of a human being. That's what I saw. That's why I brought you here. So let's talk a little bit about movement, since it's our main core here. I love movement, and I'm getting more into movement lately because I sit a lot of hours. Probably you sit some hours too. So, do you have any routines about movement? And I would go even more directly to ask, and specifically about your morning, since a good morning always is a good indicator for the rest of the day for many people.
Hmm. Yeah, to start off with movement, I like to optimize the three planes of movement, which are sagittal, frontal, and transverse planes. And so basically the most dynamic of them all is rotational movements in the plane of transverse plane. So if we can manage to get these rotational movements through the spine and really working all these intricate spiralic muscles in the body, right? Because we're like DNA on a core. So if we look at DNA, it's all spiralic. Well, that's on a very tiny microscopic level. On a macro level, we have these muscles that are twisting and turning. Like if we actually look at the muscles that go around the spine, they literally contort and twist and have a spiral around the spine, interweaving through the spine. And that's how we can rotate and everything along those lines. Our neck can rotate, all these different rotations, right? So when it comes to movement in general, my philosophy is how do we move as dynamic as possible? And also on top of that, there are no good or bad movements. There's just certain applications for them. Ido Portal is really big on that as well. He's inspired me quite a bit, and he's absolutely amazing when it comes to his movement culture and what he's built on that. So I'm really big on all sorts of just primal, savage, crazy, dynamic, fluid movements that aren't structured in a box. And I used to be that way back in the day when I was bodybuilding, working on a lot of just aesthetic based stuff. I just wanted to get stronger. I had a real skinny body. I started really prioritizing functional, not necessarily functional, but really just specific planes of movement, like just frontal plane and sagittal plane. That's all I really worked on. No rotations. And then I started having some aches and pains in my shoulder and hips. A little bit of back pain came up. So I was like, okay, how do I solve this? Well, started researching and exploring in my own body a lot of these quote unquote functional movements relating to the transverse plane, the rotational plane. And so I strongly believe in just optimizing all these planes of movement and getting very strong in them and dynamic in them. That way you can have a balanced body and have the longevity tied to it. And then you can also have the aesthetics. It's like aesthetics plus functionality, that's longevity, right? So I'm all about the two together. That's what I practice right now. And when that comes into play with the morning routine, for instance, like this morning, I have that ice plunge back here. And so every single morning, non-negotiable, within the 30 minutes of waking up, I will jump in that thing for about 4 to 5 minutes. It's around 45 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's really, really cool. I think that's around 10 degrees Celsius, something like that. But it's absolutely freezing. But what it does is just sparks that adrenaline rush, that primal energy within me. And then after that, I'm just like shaking my body. I'm doing all this crazy movement, breathing like heavily, like just like channeling that energy through the breath. And it just feels absolutely revitalizing. So that's a non-negotiable right there for the morning or grand rising routine. And, there's many other facets of my overall awakening and morning, but some essentials are cold therapy or just changing up the temperature, getting out of the warm covers. Secondly, is the movement, just dynamic movement, nothing specific related to weightlifting. Personally, I think most of us do better doing resistance training or weightlifting or strength training later on in the day. And then starting the morning off, most people do well with this, I personally do, is doing some form of oxygenation or some form of aerobic training or just bodily movement to wake up the joints, right? And get the lymphatic drainage going. So I'm really big on just natural, crazy movement for 10 to 15 minutes in the morning. And then on top of that, hydration, drinking an elixir of salts, of water, clean filtered water, apple cider vinegar, things like that to stimulate the gastric juices and the digestion. And then journaling, inner work, right? So I always have my journal. Projecting my day, writing out 3 to 5 main core goals I have for the day or habits. Gratitude is important. And so those are some main fundamentals right there. One thing I did miss, and I don't want to forget about this, is one of the most important things every human can do when they wake up is that cortisol awakening response. Immediately going outside, not behind a window, but immediately getting direct sunlight on the body, on the eyes, on the face, even if it's cloudy outside. Get outside. Even if it's cloudy. The lux, L-U-X, or the photons coming from the sky is so great compared to any artificial light indoors that will stimulate your circadian clock and help you become a kick-ass, powerful, resilient human. Most people have dysregulated circadian clocks. They're sleeping at different times of night. They have blue light at night. They're waking up at random times. Humans have been in line with Mother Nature for millennia, and we would wake with the sun and sleep with the sun. Nowadays, everything's dysregulated because we have artificial lights. So that's one of the biggest things right there as well, is get some sun exposure.
Okay, that's an excellent proposal. Now I'll ask you. Of course, I have a similar routine like yours. Don't do the cold plunges. It's very interesting the cold, and I was doing cold showers for many years. But I'm interested in cold plunges too. So do you do them? Let's start from the cold plunges, and I'll ask you then for about the sunlight. And do you do them like every single day? Like, are there any days that you're taking off because maybe you are not feeling quite there, or is it every day, like non-negotiable every day?
Yeah, that's a great point. I'd say listening to the body is number one, of course, but a lot of times the body, you'll have that inner bitch voice. And for me, it's kind of like, overcoming that inner voice in a sense. That's like a Joe Rogan guys say that kind of stuff. And I think it's true. I think we'll have this little talk and, oh, you're cozy, don't listen to it. But definitely listen to the body and the nervous system. However, it can help out with the nervous system because it's a short-term stressor. So it's a hormesis, is what it's called, hormesis. Hormetic stress is anything, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It's the short-term stressors, sauna, working out, fasting, cold therapy. Those are all short-term stressors. If we did that long-term, we would degrade, get overly stressed and die, or we'd have a nervous system issue. So doing that short-term, even just jumping in and out, that's a great reset. Personally, I have made it a non-negotiable the past 2 weeks. I've had that thing for 2 weeks, so I've done it every day since then. However, cold showers and whatnot, I think it's good to adapt to it. I think it's important to do it near daily.
Yeah, well, similar here. I've never done again the cold plunge. I've done the showers though, and I've seen that okay, maybe sometimes if I'm feeling like sick or something, I usually don't go for it, or I'm just mediating the intensity. I'm trying to figure out a little bit less to keep the habit going on, because one thing I've seen, maybe you've seen the same, is that sometimes when we, like you say, the inner bits, when we give ourselves a day off, it's very dangerous that we can give ourselves then another day off and another day off and another day off, and then you have the inertia and building up, and suddenly you are like 1 week without cold showers, or I guess cold plunges, and then your inner beat is actually very very intense and feeling strong. So that's another, it's a balance. It's like a dichotomy, as Joko probably would say. Try to figure out the guy to listen to the body, to the nervous system, but also try to figure it out.
It goes back to routines, I think, is the main thing. Like what you're saying right there is adapting to routines. Like I have defaults, even if I'm traveling, even if I'm at a different location, non-negotiables: water, hydration, sunlight, movement, perhaps a cold shower or cold therapy, like journaling as well. Like those main components, those are always going to happen for the most part. And like you said, if you begin to have that teeter-totter effect where it's like, I'll give it a day. Oh, I'll give it another day. I've gone a week without journaling just recently. I was like, whoa, I could really fall off this. And I know how much it helps me. So pick it back up, get that dopamine rush from that. So totally agree with you on that.
All right, excellent. Before we go into your day-to-day movement throughout your day, which is another thing, and your fitness, of course, because you're jacked, and I want to hear your opinion on how are you still getting jacked without the bodybuilding philosophies, the very specific bodybuilding philosophies. But before we go in there, I've lived in Germany. I've lived in northern climates. I know that the sun, especially during the winter, isn't really there for a long time. So is it still valid that we should go and try at least figure out how to watch the clouds? Is that the same? What do you know about the cloudy, the northern climate? What should they do in your opinion if somebody listens and is like very northern climate, like northern Europe, northern USA, blah blah blah?
Yeah, I would say this: just increase the time outside in the morning. So for if you have direct sunlight on your face, you're only going to need 10 minutes minimum, just about. Now, if you're outside and it's completely cloudy, like we were talking about before, is the lux, the power, the magnification of the photons is still powerful, even if it's not direct sunlight. So I would say, getting at least 30 minutes outside in the morning. Now, I know that seems like a lot for a lot of people because they have to go to work and they have to transit. Just do your best. Do your best. That's one of the most important things about all this. Orient your schedule. Everyone has control over their schedule. There's no excuses on that. However, some people maybe even rise extremely early before the sun. So when it comes to that particular circumstance, I recommend doing something like ordering something that you can set up a big light box, something that has like a 10,000 lux or something powerful that you can just sit in front of for 10 minutes or whatever while you're, in the bathroom, brushing your teeth or whatever. Just like set that up in a way, or at your desk and office, and just have that glowing all day long. Having all that exposure to light throughout the day is really helpful. even if you're indoors, you can make do with some artificial light. Now, like I said, it's not going to be anywhere near as intense as the sun, but those are little quote unquote modern science tools we can take advantage of to help out with our physiology.
Yeah, certainly. Wow, that's interesting about the lamp.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, yeah, I'll try it at some point, but thank you. All right. Let's go to the movement, man. I mean, come on. Like, what the fuck are you doing there? Why are you so jacked? Like, can we like join the woods with you? Are we going to
Of
get jacked
course, you're
after
welcome
after a few
anytime.
days in the woods?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm a culmination of things, man. My philosophy is truly on lifting 3 days a week, maybe 4 days a week, just lifting weights. And this could be even some form of calisthenics. So it could be like I like incorporating both body weight control and forming a little bit of the weightlifting. But I strongly believe in just really heavy and hard compound lifts and doing anywhere from 4 reps all the way up into 15 rep range. So doing really low reps that build that strength, and that is mostly related to uh, myofibrillar hypertrophy. And so we have different forms of hypertrophy, and sarcoplasmic hypertrophy is related to more of the higher rep range, and this is what bodybuilders prioritize. So if you look at, for instance, a bodybuilder, and then you look at a power lifter, what do you notice about the difference between the two?
I would say the fat percentage.
Yeah, right. So like in general, you can see the bodybuilder just looks aesthetic, right? They have more of aesthetic. They have bigger muscles. The power lifters lifting heavier weight, however, they're much stronger than the bodybuilders. And the whole idea around this is think of it as like the bodybuilders don't necessarily have functional muscle. What I mean by functional is it's actually super strong muscle, but they have bigger muscles. And then the power lifters actually don't look as jacked or big, but they have stronger, denser muscles. So that's exactly what it is. We can work these different muscle fibers to a degree where it's basically super low rep range, super high compact strength, power, brutal strength. And then we have this perspective of bodybuilders, which do a little bit higher reps and maybe the 8 to 15 rep range. And that's actually growing the sarcoplasm of the muscle, which is the fluid of the muscle, not the actual fibers. So the fluid of the muscle expands. This is what gives them the more of the aesthetic appeal. So I work in both of those areas. I work on extremely heavy compound lifts, strength training, things along those lines, like heavy, like 4 to 6 reps when it comes to a lot of the bench press, pull ups, squats, things like that. And then I'll also work in the higher rep range, which stimulates more of that bodybuilding aesthetic arena. And it is a higher rep range. So that's what I do. And I do it 3 to 4 times a week, usually, is what I work out heavy and hard. And then I maintain a lower calorie diet and not as dense. And that's what allows me to stay lean the entire year. And, really just having the abs, because the abs are made in the kitchen is what I like to say. And so, as everyone knows, and so that's what I strongly believe in. And that my philosophy is 3 to 4 days a week, lifting weights. 3 is typically optimal. And then just the number one component is walking and moving consistently and dynamically all throughout the day. That's actually going to be more potent than the weightlifting itself. Like, I strongly believe in that. Now, the weightlifting, of course, building muscle will boost your metabolism and everything along those lines. But if you can at least focus on just moving consistently, that's going to be a superpower when it comes to your overall physique, your energy levels. It'll support you in glucose regulation. So when you have a meal, you can walk after the meal and use that for fuel versus having it sit stagnant, causing the fat gain, the insulin issues, the pancreatic issues.
Yeah.
And, then when it comes to overall energy levels, that will support your energy, your metabolism long term. But yeah, that's my philosophy: is move consistently, 3 days a week of lifting.
Oh, awesome. Sometimes it's I've heard one guy says at some point, do the simple thing, which is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But do the simple thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes, especially for the vast majority of the population, including myself, like some people, we are not super genetically blessed, nor do we want to be like hyper, super, extra shredded, but we want to be like have a decent physique and decent strength. And I think many people, and I've seen that from my failures over the past decade, is that we are inconsistent and we are jumping first to the new program this and the new
Mm.
program that, which in a sense, especially regarding bodybuilding, you cannot stay stagnant with the bodybuilding philosophies, because, as you say, they don't have a lot of rotation, they don't have a lot of things. So yeah, you got to find a program that incorporates all these movements, all these axioms, and all these actions anyways.
Hmm.
So but at the same time, if you complicate it like I did for a decade, oh my god, uh, you have no results after a decade. And I'm here to say that, that happened to me in my 20s. I was like jumping from program to program inconsistently, no good sleep. I was trying, but I wasn't really responsible for my strength and for my physique, and I got the results that I deserved. So that's another thing to remember. I like that you say 3 to 4 times. You didn't really overcomplicate it, at least for a beginner, probably.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, yeah.
It's true. I mean, our society, I think, is all about what's the next big strict thing we can do. A good example of this is the nutrition, right? We see all these diets, like even in the emergence of carnivore diet the past 5 years has been huge. Just 5 years, it's blown up, right? It was non-existent 10 years ago. Like no one really talked about a carnivore diet. And the reason it is so quote unquote appealing to people is because if you can go all, there's a spectrum, right? The middle ground is the hardest place for people to stay in. The sweet
Mhm.
spot, that's the sweet spot. Knowing what's essential. People would rather go all out on plant-based and all vegan because it's easier just to say, I'm going to cut out all this, now I have this to focus on. There's less distraction. Okay, just plants. Then there's this carnivore approach where it's like, okay, it's easier just to focus on raw milk, meats, organs. That's it. So it's a lot easier for people to hit on a spectrum of intensity and polarity. But the middle ground is really where everyone wants to be deep down in their soul. And so I'm really big on just helping others cultivate that middle ground approach because I've been through both spectrums myself. Intense working out 5-6 days a week, feeling extremely sore, feeling stressed out in my mind because of it all the time, getting bad sleep. Then there's this spectrum of not working out that much, getting kind of lazy. And then there's this sweet spot where I find like 3 to 4 days a week is sweet and just simplifying everything. Because everyone thinks the middle ground is rarely like confusing. It's because the industry with social media is confusing. They're saying like, all this stuff is bad for you, all this is bad for you, all this is good for you. It's like it's mind blowing, right? And so I'm really about that sweet spot in that middle and knowing what's essential. That temperance and stoicism they talk about. What is, that's one of the Stoic virtues is temperance. Finding that sweet spot, knowing what's essential for you.
Well, yeah, I'm with you, bro. And yeah, yeah, it's. I mean, in Greece, there's in ancient Greek, there's a saying which I'm going to tattoo at some point in my,
Mm,
probably somewhere that everybody can see it, like in my back or something. It's called two words, metron ariston, which
mm,
means find. It's excellence is in the balance. So find the balance.
mm.
Find as you say the word. So yeah, yeah, it's the old people are saying these things for a reason. um, don't go overboard about some things.
Hmm.
Wow, excellent, bro. Yeah, and about the movement, also I have another testimonial here. I was not moving right the past few years. Like in my late 20s, I wasn't moving. I was working, like I was sitting a lot of hours, even though I knew, like I was studying everybody, everything, the Ben Greenfields, the biohackers,
Hmm.
everybody. I knew everybody, everything. I have read anything that exists out there, but still, I didn't apply the philosophies and anything, and I saw my health stagnating literally, and I was backtracking very very fast. I was actually hospitalized once for
Mm,
some gut issues and stuff, and I really got me thinking. That was like 4 years ago, and got me thinking about, okay, man, what are you not doing? What are your blind spots? And one of my blind spots is exactly what you said here. And I thank you for this. I wasn't really moving, like literally. I forgot to move, fucking move. Like, and I think I was representing the majority of people out there who just sit up, go eat their breakfast, maybe do a shower with not non-filtered water, um, and then they go jump into the car. They drive stressed out of their minds, usually, because there is traffic, or some asshole, or some other guy is stressed also, and he does something to annoy them, and then they go to the office, and then they sit,
Mm-hmm.
and then they sit and they sit and they sit, and then, for hours, 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 and then you have a human being who isn't really being, is like sitting. It's a human sit. It's a human
Mm-hmm.
chair.
Yeah.
And so pathetic, man. I done it. I've done the 5 to 9, then 9 to 5, whatever. I don't care anymore. It's so pathetic. It's so backwards. Like, come on, man. I mean, we are in an age where, and I hope that more companies are at least proposing stand-up desks. Like now, I'm
Oh yeah.
standing, or at least I know maybe you, maybe you're not, but at least if you're not moving throughout the day like you do, which you can do it, it's your profession, at least have a standing desk, stand-up desk. And maybe if you are even more into it, go buy some treadmill or some static bike around your office. I think that should be for me a proper society, like get it flow, because I wasn't flowing, and it cost me almost not my life, but it really deteriorated my life quality, like.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, it's funny you say all of that, and one thing I recently sparked a big passion for is a floor desk. So I used to do the standing desk quite often, but I've been doing the floor desk for the past year. And the reason I really like it is right now I'm in a position where my legs are like this, the hips are bending, then I can rotate them and I can sit on my knees, and I can change all these positions. And this is, what it's like worldwide for the most part, outside a lot of these kind of westernized countries such as the US, for instance, is we're into the plopped into the chair, 90-degree knees, back starts hunching
yeah,
over, right? And so what we can do with the floor desk is we can dynamically move, just like a lot of these, countries like India and China. They typically have their floor desks, right? They're eating on the floor. They have these low level tables, and like that's been around for thousands of years. It's these short legged desks. And so, or tables. And so what I like to do is I like to have these floor desks because I can move dynamically and I can intuitively know, like, okay, it's time to shift. This knee's getting a little stagnant. Okay, now I'm going to have this knee in front of me flat. So now I have this hamstring that's my leg is flat. It's not like this, right? So the hamstring's able to get that extension, right? And all these different hip mobilization movements. And so it's absolutely game changing. You can even go on your belly and type with your back, like, elevated up, and all these different yoga positions basically. And so huge proponent of the floor desk for mobilization of the spine and the hips, a little bit more than the standing desk even. And, standing desk is great too, but I think there's all these different applications, but they're so simple, right? And they take a little adjustment once you're in it. It's just default.
yeah, I'm completely in agreement. I'm new to the floor desk, so I don't know exactly, but yeah, it's actually, it's moving your ligaments, like, and the spine that you say. And I have, in addition, I think one thing that I added the past few months, and I was doing in my early 20s, is this. So let me, oh,
Oh, nice. You got the Swiss ball.
so exactly, yeah, I mean, the Swiss ball is like, for example, now I'm going to try, unless it destroys me. It's a fucking weird, yeah. Okay,
You go on your
now I'm
knees.
on my knees, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's fucking great, man, and it's so playful. Also, like, you are an adult and you feel like going back into into time, like
And your
time
core is
traveling back into
working.
the playground, right?
Yeah.
So, thanks for the floor thing. I'll I'll adding it, and I think more people should, if they have, especially now with the home offices, like
Oh
literally.
yeah.
One thing that this lie did to anybody who has still brains, um, is, is that the whole home office thing was promoted and widely accepted, I think. So maybe it's a good time for people to actually, if they have the desire and the brains, to do things like that, like experiment in the house, and do things like you do, the floor desk, the standing desk, the Swiss ball desk,
Hmm.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think these are simple action steps that people can take advantage of, and that goes back to what we were saying about that sweet spot is simplicity is king, worship simplicity. I always go back to stoicism, and it's funny, ancient Greece. I'm just such a massive proponent of it because it really takes so many roots from different texts and whatnot. But Marcus Aurelius, he was so big on just like keeping things simple in many ways, and just a powerful Roman emperor. And I just think just taking advantage of just not getting overwhelmed by so many different ways you can take advantage of your health and improve it. But it really, like, a lot of people will argue our ancestors, didn't live long lives. They lived till their 40s. How do we actually know that, first of all? And secondly, if we did live till our 40s, it was due to sickness, illness, starvation, famine, disease. It wasn't due to the lack of vitality within our blood, right? We had that primal like energy and vitality, and that was through eating real food that was from nature. It was moving consistently, it's the sunlight, it's the circadian optimization, all those different things. And so I think if we can just go back to that simplicity, man, we're all going to live a much more vital life as humans.
Yeah, right on. And I'm calling BS to the agenda of people not living long lives back in the day because I actually have like proof. I'm telling you, my mom descends from a part of the Greek of Greek mainland Greece, which is the northwestern part, which is super mountains, like super not hospitable place to live. Like it's the least hospitable place. It's the thing that you will never see if you buy a carte postal about Greece. Um, no tourist goes there, trust me.
Mm,
And her grandmothers, which are now long dead, they lived literally like ancient peoples, like almost ancient peoples. You don't need to go to Africa. Like they didn't have doctors, they didn't have anything. They have the roots,
mm.
they have the wolves, the bears, they have the wild
The
animals.
predators are so thick,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, fully, man, fully. It was like wildlife, like up in the mountains, like a lot of kilometers up in the mountains, like really almost not primitive, but not very far away from primitive life. Like okay, small villages with they build their own houses. Very cold in the um, very cold in the winters. I mean, the Germans. I don't know about the Second World War. If you know about history about these battles, but one reason that the Germans didn't win the war, which nobody knows about that, but is these mountains. The Italians, and I know I'm getting loud out. I'm making a parenthesis here, but the Italians tried to get into Greece from these mountains, which was stupid because they are inhospitable. And the Greeks that were from these mountains, they actually hold the line so long that that Hitler had to send Germans, which wasn't in the plans.
Mm,
They had to send Germans, many German thousands and aircraft to actually fucking capture Greece for fuck's sake. Like
mm.
the Italians couldn't do it. Like they actually retreated because the mountains were so fucking hospitable.
Oh my gosh.
And that's why Hitler was that, and another Serbian attack was why Hitler was delayed to attack Russia, which in consequence was why they were stuck in fucking Stalingrad and they were disseminated, like destroyed,
Mm.
because the fucking island, because the Italians couldn't do the job. I mean, who can blame them? Like if you go to those mountains, it's not it's mountains, dude.
Yeah, man. Hiking through that, and they didn't have any of the crazy technology we have today, where it's just like,
No,
even today, it's probably crazy.
it's exactly, and it was in the winter. Like, what the heck
Oh
are you
yeah.
doing there? And anyway, the people there, my ancestors, they live up to their hundreds, man. So I don't follow the whole all the lived up to the 40s. I mean, my ancestors, like we're talking late 19th century, early 20th century, they didn't have fucking doctors. Like, come on. Like my grandmother, not my grandmother, my grandmother, who is now living, she's 92, 93 or something, and she's still strong.
Mm,
She was birthing kids. My mom, I think, was birthed like on the street. Dude, we're not living society here. We are talking about no rural things. No. It's
mm-hmm,
not easy peasy, and no drugs around. Maybe penicillin if some neighbor had it,
mm-hmm.
but that's about it. and they actually lived a long fucking life. It was very poor situation. So I don't buy the whole, their ancestors lived up to their 40s. Yeah, maybe they were killed in war, like you say,
Yeah.
disease sometimes. Yeah, okay, fine, fine. But come on, I
It
think
all
they are
goes back
lives.
to chronic and acute stress. They had acute stress throughout their life. They didn't have this chronic disease we have today that's rampant everywhere, right? The
Yeah,
diabetes, the hypertension, the cancer, all this stuff is elevated tremendously. It's elevated like 30 fold over the past 40 years, 50 years, 60 years. It's crazy. And it's due to all the environmental toxins we have in our, heavy metals, the stuff being sprayed from the skies, who knows what, a glyphosate, atrazine, all these pesticides and herbicides. And, so we as humans, like, what do we do about that? Do I keep fear mongering about it? Or no, we find solutions to it. And the solutions is, how do we work with what we have in the crazy world today? For me personally, it's, clean diet, key supplementation can help out, and just constantly, I don't think detoxing is a thing we do like once every 3 months or whatever for a week. It's like, no, detox every day. Just go through a detoxification protocol every day. I myself have had a tremendous amount of stuff in my body that I find that I'm just like trying to get rid of. Like heavy metals is a big one. Um, I never found I had parasites in my system as much. But it definitely is important to take care of that, because everyone has this type of stuff in their body. So, but that's the root of all this, right? I find like a lot of this is this liver toxicity, and there's cholestasis, which is the stagnation of bile fluid from the liver. 9 out of 10 people, I strongly believe, have this issue because the modern industrialized way of living nowadays, in the matrix per se. So, yeah, it's one of those things. It can get overwhelming, but really just going back to simple steps.
yeah, very true, man. And funny thing about that, before we go into your program, which I'm very curious to talk a little bit about it, because many people might find it very useful for their lives. But before we go there, I have a guy, a friend here, who is like from the US. I think I told you before the recording, and he was in construction, so his work was in construction. So he was moving every day. Like every day was movement for him. Like the work was movement and strength, movement and strength. So short burst of strength, and then very light work, very light movement
Mm,
again. Then lifting something very heavy, going back to light movement. And he's very healthy. He's like 61 and he looks like 45 or something. And is one of the strongest guy I know by far, by a long shot. And he doesn't go to the gym. I mean, yeah, he doesn't go to the gym. He's like sailing the Mediterranean right now,
mm,
and he was moving all his life. And I'm seeing the same with my grandmother, and my grandfather, who are now in their 90s, and their work was, my grandfather was building stuff, so work, movement, movement, and movement. My grandma again, moving like heavy bags of water or of wheat, rice, blah blah blah, to feed the family. So short bursts of very heavy stuff, along with a lot of moving throughout the day. And I mean, they live happily. I mean, they are now in their late years, 90s. But same for my American friend here. He's 61, more energetic than most 20-year-old guys that you can find right now. And I'm not joking. Like everybody's like asking him, like, "What the fuck? What are you doing?" And he's done nothing in the gym. Everything is his work, construction, movement,
mm,
movement, movement, movement. And even when he was fat, he was very energetic. He was eating like a bad diet. I mean, his diet isn't even clear, which is another surprising thing. Like his diet is very well,
mm-hmm,
and he still is strong and doesn't face too many issues like most people. So
mm-hmm.
these things about movement, I mean, all these things, all these data points for me are indicative that we need to move a little bit more. So yeah,
Absolutely. They always say like the 10K steps thing. I'd say just shoot for like 15,000 if you can, and when it comes to the movement thing too, it's interesting. I think back in the day we had a lot of quote unquote blue collar based things where it was just fixing up. It was, carrying things. And now we have all that given to us to where the conveniences are making us weak and frail, right? And so I think just getting your hands dirty and just doing the dirty work yourself and not just hiring someone to do something. Like if you have to move houses, like pick up the furniture and do it yourself, right? You don't necessarily have to hire a whole collective of dudes to help you, um, or garden, or just like, this little, like you're saying, this functional, quote unquote, functional movements throughout the day is just a great way to go. And it's funny you're mentioning like, okay, his diet was pretty, it's not the best diet, but that's what's crazy about it is this movement allows you to process the junk in your body more effectively, because it's that stagnation creates disease we were talking about. So if you can constantly move, even on a bread and pasta diet, you're going to feel amazing because you're using that, energy versus just glucose elevating. And then all of a sudden you have all these issues that are arising with arterial function and your heart health. And so
Yeah, right on. Man, so you are obviously you know your stuff. So I'm curious now. So okay, what is this program that you have? Please let us know about. It's the last segment of our interview, so you have
mhm.
a lot of time. So go for it.
Yeah, man. So this program is InnerFit, I call it. And the whole idea is, what we've been going through today in a way, it's not just about, you know, achieving a healthy, or it's not just about a physique, it's achieving a healthy physique. And that's what I'm all about. That's my motto, is a healthy physique. So make your physique glowing, make it ripped, make it strong, have that aesthetic around it, which is empowering. It builds that confidence. It builds that inner fitness, right? And so that's what I'm all about. And inner fortitude, inner fitness, inner resilience through day-to-day stressors, and defining your purpose, having clarity with your vision and where you want to go in life. That's the whole synopsis of this program, is helping men, mostly millennial men, anywhere from like 20 to 40 years old, that range. A lot of these guys are finding themselves stuck in patterns that aren't serving them. These are behaviors that are, whether it's revolving around over tech use, living a more tech driven matrix kind of life. And really they're feeling this inspiration around, how do I evolve beyond that, hit more of this nature driven life? I like to say nature driven. And so, if you're having habits that are relating to, like I was saying, over tech use, it could be watching pornography, it could be eating lab made foods, which is relating to tech, processed, ultra processed, hyper palatable foods that aren't serving your vessel. And this could also be related to things around the movement we've talked about, right? You haven't moved consistently. You haven't tapped into a fitness routine that's good for your overall functionality and longevity and muscle building, hypertrophy. And you also have a passion of just like, man, I have no complete direction on where you want to go in life. So crystallizing that vision with your purpose, your core values, understanding that mindset and purpose is key and fundamental in this program. So really, over the years, Jason, I've worked on fitness, personal training, nutritionist related things. That's all I include in this program. However, I got to the point where it's like really about, how do we harness that mindset around all of that? That encapsulates really all of it. It's like, if your mindset's in this woo me or woe is me kind of mentality, all these things are not going to be able to grow and prosper when it comes to dedicating to a fitness, dedicating to a nutrition program and all of that. So yeah, it's a powerful program. Basically has these 6 pillars I go through: mindset and purpose, nutrition and gut, schedule, sleep and stress, uh, fitness and movement, nature and sustainability, and connection and communication. So your self-talk, your communication, your relationships, your nutrition, your ability to connect with nature, have a sustainable life. That's not just for you. It's for like, how do I, how is my impact on the decisions I'm making relating to food, relating to plastics, relating to composting or whatever? How does that connect to the greater good as well? The fitness, the movement. So it really encapsulates that holistic approach I'm really big on, in the 8 dimensions of wellness, which are all these different aspects related to spiritual, relating to physical, relating to environmental, social, all that comes together. So it's a powerful program. I put it in the works for about 8 months, and it's all in fruition right now. So it's a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, sounds like it. Sounds like fun, man. Sounds like
It's key. That's my whole thing, is make it fun, right? Make healthy fun.
exactly, brother. But yeah, I could talk for about fun for hours. Like, come on. Sometimes, we are, I don't know, maybe it's modern, maybe it's not, but many people are so stuck, you know. The discipline word also, I mean, I love it, but at the same time, I think it has created some negative, byproducts, some connotations. I don't know how to explain it, but many people are so stuck in there. I have to. I have to.
Yeah.
No, you don't have to. You get to. You're alive. So please.
Yeah, there you go. There's the self-talk. The communication's key. Exactly. You know what's up.
Exactly.
Yeah, 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 man.
Yep. Yep. You know. You know. You know.
Yeah, a lot of guys are walking around like this, like there's this tightness, there's this energy tightness, right? And it's in the body, it's in
Yeah.
the mind. It's like, how do we just be relaxed and playful and loose and channel that inner child, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's and movement helped me also too. So I think your program is ideal. Like, because I think without movement, you cannot really, like you said before, you're stagnant. And when you're stagnant, I've observed about from my humble life that when I'm getting stagnant, sitting, I'm negative thoughts always popping up. Like,
Mm,
oh, I'm a loser. Oh, why me? Like the classic,
right.
why me? I'm a loser. Life is hard. Shit. Like when I'm getting out to do a walk or do my roping, especially when I'm doing my kettlebelling, oh my God, I'm super freaking positive afterwards. Like, I'm like, oh man, like, I love everybody, like everybody, even the neighbors. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's the whole idea. It's like that endorphin rush you get from it, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
I always like to say, like, control the mind with the body. It's so hard to control the body or control the mind with the mind. So you might as well just connect the two together because, I mean, they're not separate. The body is the mind is the body. So a lot of us try to think it's a separate thing where, we go do talk therapy, which is really healing for many people. But a lot of times it's just somatic release therapy. It's moving your body. It's moving it's hitting the chords of the piano in many ways. Like the pianos are stagnant, there's all this dust on it. Ding, now all this dust flies off. And it's like, okay, shit, now you're feeling more free. Now your mind is more clear, you have more energy, you're more positive, like you're mentioning. So I love it, man.
Yeah. Wow. So let's say that somebody's interested to get into the program. So can you? Is it first of all? Is it out? Is it published? Is it now out? People can check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's one of those things that it's going to be a group coaching dynamic associated with it. So it is a full on course with everything you need. But the biggest part about this that I love is about once or twice a year. I would say twice a year is the goal. I will be launching this group coaching with it, and so you can apply for the wait list on it. And this is where you see all the benefits and get the updates on when the next one is coming out biannually. But I really am big on just like, okay, you can buy courses online. It's really helpful. And I'm going to offer this at some point soon where, people can just buy the course and go through it, which is really effective and powerful tool. But I'm such a proponent of having that accountability, that support with it, And so this group dynamic, this group coaching in an intimate setting with other brothers is so powerful. Be able to communicate, have that effective, groundwork on how to move forward and, navigating some of these goals you're setting for yourself and some of the habits you're setting for yourself. So having that, 24/7 access to the group through texting and communication on that is powerful. And on top of that, the weekly calls, having masterminds once a month with some individuals and guest specialist trainings, bringing on some massive professionals that are just in the field of overall holistic health related to like yoga therapists, breathwork facilitators, individuals that are really into that optimization sector. So it's next level, man. So I absolutely love this offering right here. I think it has everything guys need to get to that next level.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. And so, if you could again summarize, what are the pains that you think this program can actually, this methodology that you have, can solve for people? So, have you find the challenges that people have, and have you seen from personal coaching or friends or colleagues or anything from your observations? Because you have mastered many things that most of us don't. So, what have you seen as main issues of people that this program can actually help them if they commit to it to actually get them solved finally, and maybe even go to much better life quality?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so specifically, it's for guys that find themselves caught in patterns that are not serving them. And they know this consciously, but they keep going through the same thought loops of it or the same actions. And they know that they can change. They feel that, but there's something about it that they're trying all these different modalities like scrolling through YouTube, finding that motivation for it, motivational videos, getting all the information themselves. They're constantly pursuing things outside of themselves versus really going back to like, where's the core of this and where can I start with this? So it's guys that are knowing like, man, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know the blueprint or the step-by-step process to start working on these things, relating to having that guidance in life. And so it's more than just physique. That will definitely be improved. So if someone's out there, that a guy out there that wants to lose fat, they want to start improving their muscle mass, this will certainly help them. But it's also going to help them with that inner fitness, which is really having that guidance and support to really move forward when it comes to cultivating a purpose, cultivating their core values, having that resilient mindset in day-to-day life, because every single day we're going to be bombarded from distractions, things relating to pornography, things relating to fast food. So how do we navigate through that in those moments? So it allows men to tap into their highest self in every moment in time, in the present. So that's the guiding force behind it. And so it's really powerful. It's really all about those different spectrums.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That sounds like properly and excellent. I think the thing about the fast food you say and the whole porn industry and all these things, which is actually degeneracy. Let's call it as it is. It's actually sadly degeneracy, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, doesn't really help. And I've never seen any man, think clearly after he has consumed McDonald's and then binge on Pornhub.
Right.
Okay, so, and I'm not innocent here. I've been porn addicted, and I wasn't really super into junk food, but I was porn addicted, and and I know people who are junk food addicts, and you can't really think about anything, about purposes, about life, about whatever. You just go in the flow, and there isn't even in any flow, so you're
Mm-hmm.
stagnant,
I very
and
well could
life
vouch
goes
for that.
by.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And that's the thing is like, it's like, it's almost like going back to that monotony we were saying. It's like you keep falling back into these patterns that these addictive patterns. And I've been through all that myself. Hence why I created this in the first place. And I'm really speaking to my past self and helping guys out in that same arena. The pornography, the junk food, the fast food, the lack of having a schedule and routine in my life, where it's just so chaotic and spontaneous. Not going to the gym, not moving consistently, not having clarity. Like, we all go through that as men. And if you say you aren't going through that, that is a lie, because every guy today is struggling with that or challenged with that. And that's one of those things. It's like, just acknowledging that is first, right? Accepting it is first. And then understand, like, hey, I don't have to do this alone. That's number one as well. I've hired so many mentors in my life. I've worked with so many people that were above me. And I was like, I need this support and accountability, because, I can't do it myself. I've tried that for 6 months. I've tried that for a year. It's not getting me anywhere. So let's have that accountability and support. And all of a sudden you're just like, whoa, skyrocketing exponentially.
On this point, and that's why I want to promote. I mean, you seem like the guy to do the job, in my opinion. And one of my regrets for my 20s is that I didn't hire many coaches. That I was it wasn't coming from bad intentions, but the result is the result. And for anybody who's youngster also and listening, may listen. I mean, my audience usually is more in the 30s and more and older, but um, you know, for the youngers in the audience, if you are in your teens or 20s and you can actually save some money and you are struggling with these things, because you are, like, let's face it, you are in 20s, porn is everywhere. You are in
Mm-hmm.
your teens or 20s, come on, like, come on, unless you're a Jedi, you're probably struggling with it. um Go for a coach, go for a guy who, how old are you, by the way, Christian? Not that it matters, but
Yeah,
whatever.
about to be 26 here soon, so in about a month.
All right. So you are in your in your late. You are approaching the late 20s, so you are more in a more wise position, because maybe you are a little bit calmer than when you were 19. But
Mm-hmm.
anybody who is young, literally, and you've seen to master a lot of things. I mean, I would propose to anybody to think about it, because the time will pass by, guys. I'm 32, and time flies. Time flies like a motherfucker, and if you can invest the freaking money, just save the fucking thing. Don't buy
Mm-hmm.
your next Xbox, or
Yeah.
or don't go to the fucking vacations for once. don't go for drinks every Friday for 3 months. Okay, it's a sacrifice. Yeah, I get it. But I mean, you can go to the Instagram, Christian's Instagram, check him out, check what he's saying, check how he looks, and then make a decision. And I hope that everybody, especially the younger ones, but also the people in their 30s and more, just take the fucking decision and do it. Go through the fire, man. Yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable. I'm sorry to say so. Every time I'm doing something, a leap of faith. I'm in Corfu. I wasn't in Corfu like a month ago. I'm taking a leap of faith here too. It's always uncomfortable. Like, I'm sorry,
Hmm.
princesses out there. I was a princess. I am a princess in some instances. I guess Christian probably is also in some more
Oh
higher
yes.
than I. But if Christian master this, don't go and alone. I mean, follow a guy and practice if you want to get the results. And I'm honestly interested in your program, by the way. But I'll talk about this later in the offlines. Probably around autumn. I'm thinking of joining. If last thing, is this for? Is it via online or should the people be in the US or your area?
Worldwide, man. This is the best part about it. I got guys in the program right now. I got guys in Australia, guys in Spain, guys in the US. There's a guy in Mexico. It's really amazing, and that's what's so cool is you immerse yourself in all these different cultures as well, and understand that we're all in the same boat worldwide. We're all going through this shit, so it's cool.
That's awesome, dude. All right, I'm super interested. All right, man. Um, okay, last thing. Before we go into your Instagrams, last question, short one. Uh, where is Christian in 10 years, ideally? What are you doing?
Mm, this is my vision. I'm going to be hosting a podcast similar to what you're doing right here, interviewing some beautiful, brilliant minds around the world on all things optimization, sustainability, nature, nutrition, fitness, mindset, psychology, all the things. And this is going to be a massive podcast. I just know it, deep in my soul. I want to put that work in. It's going to be consistent. And I'm going to travel the world doing that. I'm going to have a podcast that's on the go. I'm going to be, creating a YouTube channel that's massive, and the whole reason and why behind that is two ways. It helps my life be rejuvenated, so that way I can make the income I need to continue expanding this mission of helping others, energizing and empower others to live a more sustainable, energetic, and balanced life. So that's the main reason, is that's my purpose in many ways, to love God and nature and to energize and empower others to live a more sustainable, empowered, spiritually driven life. Uh, and then the other piece of it is out of selfishness, right? If I can focus on myself and expanding myself and my vessel and making that money to support my family and what I want to build for my life, it's just going to create that selflessness. And I think a lot of people will say, selfishness is the enemy and all this stuff. It's like, no. Like, how do you expect to help your family? How do you expect to help others if you aren't taking care of your mindset, your family, all those things? You can't grow. And so that's one of those things, or help others grow for that matter. And so
Yeah.
that's what I'm looking forward to, man, in the future. It's just constantly exploring, traveling, and I can see myself living on property that is in the middle of the woods and having sustainable access to water, having all the crops, having the agriculture, having goats, having cows, having chickens and eggs, and hosting retreats on my property is my goal. Ice baths, sauna, like all that stuff is a big vision of mine. It's just constantly getting clearer and clearer as the days pass. So it's amazing, man. That's what I got in mind.
I'll come. I'll come over to
You're
your
gonna be
retreat.
here. You're gonna be here. There's no doubt.
It's a bucket list. Hey, I will hold you accountable, huh? In
Yeah,
10
yeah.
years.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
I want to hold
Uh,
you accountable too. I want to hear, what are some of your visions yourself? I know this is a podcast for me, but let's turn the table. Let's turn the table around.
let's turn the floor table around. Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
there we go.
let's make it standing. Look, similar, man. I'm like, and it's not by accident. I mean, we are in the same mental space in many ways. My dream, for example, is I want to be ideally in the Mediterranean. Not ideally, I want to be in the Mediterranean. Probably because
Mm,
I live here and I love it. It's like a lake, but it's also a sea. It's beautiful. Probably either in Spain, in Mediterranean Spain, Italy or Greece, or I have properties in all of them, And the properties are actually with trees around,
Mm,
with farm in farmlands. It's not in the city. And I have exactly like you. I have headquarters ideally in Corfu, which is where I'm living now, which is the western part of Greece, where I have like super many trees and that bear fruit, of course. And I have people around that I can give food, which is super organic, super fresh, everything. And I support families around, of course, with the food. I support the local communities. I can teach people about how to improve their agriculture, how to fight a good fight about the waters, clean the waters, find ways to bring more education, and of course, having a this is my gym. I can design it even in my mind. I have a house which is like an octagon, but it's more like a cycle in the center of the farm. So the farm is actually a cycles,
mm,
and in the center and around is a small river, and there are bridges. So the
mm,
center is like a two-story with a little thing like a small tower in the middle, where we go there to drink coffee, the family and friends, and then we can have some beautiful views.
mm,
But in the second floor, we have like with with huge glasses. You can see outside the natural light. We have like a place where people come to heal themselves. Everything like you say, saunas, infrared tables, massage tables, chiropractic tables, whatever the heck. And you know hopefully by then in 10 years I'll be able to be have a good network of professionals that can work with me. And when I bring people here, clients, retreats, students, and brothers, of course, because hey, I mean, friends are
mm,
important in this life. We can actually have some really fun, like explore the body, like being like hang around with my friends or my clients, and at the same time do the massages, like explore the body again, do some new exercise modality, see a new rehab thing,
mhm,
test the spagyric or the alchemic medicines for my friend. I have a friend who is a spagyritist, old medicines, very old spagyric medicine, um, things like that. Um, Dude, I'm just thinking about it and I'm getting a not a boner, but I'm getting excited. I'm getting excited, bro. And I think that probably the same is for you.
It
Probably the same.
lights us up, man. I mean, it's
Yeah.
all in the now. It's already happened. It's already happened.
Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah. So we, for the audience, hold us accountable, guys, and we hope to see you there in our retreat spaces and have a joy, have something, learn something. So, my man Christian, I'm very glad that you came by, and you seem like a genuine guy. I can sense it from your vibe, and thank you for accepting the invitation. And of course, let us know where can people find everything about you.
Awesome, man. Yeah. So if you guys are really looking to connect with me, Instagram is one of the best places to go. It's so much easier to have conversations. Just reach out to me anytime. But you can find me on all platforms at CVC Wellness, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. You can look it up all on those platforms. On top of that, you can go to cvcwellness.com. There's a ton of things on there when it comes to all my favorite product recommendations, supplement recommendations, some tools for you, my blog, all sorts of things like that are on there. And if you're looking to take it to the next level with the program itself, liveinnerfit.com. Liveinnerfit.com. That's where we were talking about that program. It's amazing and so excited to connect with you. If you're interested in anything at all. If you just want to even talk about nutrition, we can book a call and we can talk about it and see what I can offer you in many ways to support you on this crazy health hike, I'd like to say. So that's where you can find me, man.
Excellent, man. All right. Um, So, Christian, please stay for a moment after the recording ends. And for anybody else, of course, if you like this video, which of course it is not if it is you liked it, I guess, unless you are crazy, because a lot of wisdom was laid down here. So please like the video, subscribe, even though the algos are a little bit crazy these days in the YouTube spaces. But anyway, everything helps. Support the channel, support what you love, support what you like, support Christian. Go to his Instagram, go follow. I mean, I'm amazed every time I go there. It's like home, feels like home. So I'll probably be a little bit more active there too. Um, and yeah, that's being said, see you guys in the next episode, and ciao ciao.